All right, I think everything should be working. We are it says we're live, so that's a plus. And looks like I started the stream on OBS, so we should be on Twitch as well. Let me dial up the old Twitch stream here. Let me see. Of course, it's not on this. So if I look like I'm looking off to my right quite a bit, it's because I have my iPad set up on the table as well. So I'll be using that from time to time as well. But I'll have my Twitch stream. I guess I'll use it on my phone, um, just so I have that up in case somebody has a comment or two or three or five or whatever. So I have that set up. We're good there. We are going to use the iPad for some stuff. And let me just get this all going beforehand so that we're up to date on everything. I want to see real quick if they updated the entry list. When was this one last updated? This was last updated. So this is the same one. Yeah, this is the same one. Okay. So no change there. All right. Go back and look at. All right, so it is 9:15. That was when I said I was going to be on. So, good morning to all you out there that are listening. I thank you for your support. Looks like we got maybe a couple people on YouTube. Looks like the Twitch following is not there yet, but that's okay. Sometimes I get a person that pops on or two during the middle of this, but we are going to do our live recording. I do apologize about not being on last week. We had a little bit of some stuff at my regular job, my normal job. I just, as I've said multiple times, I do this for fun. This is sort of what I do on my downtime. So, unfortunately, unable to do a show last week, but we're going to make up for it here today. We'll do a kind of a twofer. We'll go over Martinsville. We'll go over Richmond. I know the topic that I'm sure the majority of people are going to want to hear about is my take on the whole Jennifer Jo Cobb thing, because that blew up yesterday, which is part of the reason why I held off on doing the podcast yesterday. I had a good opportunity to do it yesterday, but we decided, or I decided, I should say, I decided to hold it off one more day just to get a little bit more clarification on the whole thing with Jennifer Jo Cobb. I didn't want to go run with it yesterday and have to try to somehow backtrack it and figure it out from there. So we're gonna just do one whole package on that. So that'll probably be our lead story that we'll talk about, and then we'll get into our other things such as the Richmond race review. We'll go over Martinsville as well, and we'll do things from there. So let me get the ready to go here, which it is already started up. So we'll start recording here in about a couple seconds. Hey, everybody, this is Bobby here, the Coochie's Corner podcast, coming to you with another episode here. Really, excited to be talking about the Virginia short tracks. That's what this episode is going to be called. It's going to be called the Virginia Short Track Recap. We'll talk about Martinsville. We'll talk about Richmond. And we're also going to talk about Jennifer Jo Cobb not being approved to run out at Talladega. We'll get into that. That'll probably be our lead story. That'll be the first thing we'll talk about right on the other side of this break. But I do want to apologize real quick. We weren't able to get on the air last week. Just had some things in my regular job, that unfortunately, took me away from being able to record this week. So this last week. So I was kind of glad that, things kind of fell the way they did. because now I'm here on Tuesday doing the episode. I'm able to get in another topic, one that I think is pretty timely. So we'll talk about the Jennifer Jo Cobb approval, and we'll talk about kind of how that all happened. And I know that's a topic a lot of people want to discuss, so we'll talk about that. We'll also go over some news and notes of the week that was, and we'll get you all set up for Talladega. So we got an action-packed episode here of the Crew Chiefs Corner podcast, and we'll get started right after this quick break. So I'm just going to wait for my my lead thing here to process. While it's doing that, we're going to do, whoops. I thought I almost messed something up there. We'll get our transitions, which are whoops. There we go. All right, cool. And nope. I gotta find my one other thing. If you guys have any NASCAR related questions, any silly season stuff you want to discuss, whether on YouTube or on Twitch, feel free to ask away as I wait. I gotta grab a couple things. Normal, I'm a little bit more organized, as you guys know, with this. I usually have this down pat where I just come in and we just knock the show out and get it all out of the way. But I gotta dig for some of my stuff here. Largely because I have so much stuff in Anchor right now, that I have to kind of play around and get what I need. I don't have stuff like readily available. That's probably the only thing I really don't like right now is that I don't have it like organized. I don't know if that's a me thing or that's just how Anchor is, but all right, cool. I think we're good. All right, everybody. Bobby Bailey back here on the Crew Chiefs Corner podcast, bringing you our kind of opening discussion topic of the day. And what we're going to discuss now is the Jennifer Jo Cobb not being approved to go run Talladega. And I know this was a kind of a topic that broke late yesterday, which is part of the reason why I was glad we kind of pushed the podcast back a day, just because of the craziness that happened and kind of clarify a little bit about what happened. I know when the story first broke, there wasn't a lot of detail, and we'll kind of go through it all. So apparently, getting into Richmond this past weekend, NASCAR informed Rick Ware Racing and their operation that Jennifer Jo Cobb was not going to be approved to run the Cup Series race this upcoming weekend at Talladega Super Speedway. The reasoning behind that was because of was largely due to her performance in the Truck Series, not having a ton of lead lap finishes, and there's probably a lot of other things that go into it, but I know it was what they call the quality of her performance in the series. And the other thing you got to keep in mind is NASCAR is being stricter. Now, I know the first thing many people point out is how did Quinn Half get um, approved to the Cup Series, but you have Jennifer Jo Cobb, who's run trucks and she's running for herself. She's running in very underfunded equipment. How is that going to preclude her from making a Cup start? And the one thing I would say is that Quinn had made ARCA starts. He also made some Xfinity starts, and he was approved to run Cup in, I believe, 19. And I believe within the last year or so, there has been a movement within the sport to be a little stricter when it comes to approving guys to run the NASCAR Cup Series. And I think what the deal is with Jennifer Jo is not anything other than the fact that she has struggled in the Truck Series to perform at a reasonable level, given all factors. Whether you take out the fact that she does drive underfunded trucks for herself, I think it's just a struggle that she normally does not finish on the lead lap. I think she has 11 career lead lap finishes in her 260 plus career starts in the Truck Series. I think that has something to do with it. I think the other part that has to do with it is Jennifer Jo Cobb hasn't run Xfinity in, I would like to say, about 6 years now. So I believe that has something to do with it. And obviously, she's never made an attempt in a Cup car. I think part of the problem with NASCAR is we've discussed this countless times, is the changes and sometimes the on the fly moves that NASCAR makes when it comes to certain things. And I think that if you look at this deal with Jennifer Jo Cobb, there's a lot of people that are skeptical of the reasoning that NASCAR gave as to why she's not running. I believe people are upset because of the fact that Jennifer Jo Cobb does run her own truck program. She does drive for herself. She is a female driver, and she has a big fan following. The problem is that NASCAR, I think, has taken a lot of heat for the drivers they've approved in the past to go run in the Cup Series, whether that be a Quinn Houff, whether that be, there's a myriad of guys that you could go down the line. I mean, Kevin Conway, you could go make a case why Kevin Conway even, like I said, got approved. You can make an argument about James Davis and why he got approved. Just because you run open wheel doesn't give you shouldn't give you an open book into the NASCAR Cup Series. We saw that with Kimi Räikkönen when he came over. He had to go run trucks. He couldn't just jump in a Cup car and go out and race. They made Dario Franchitti go through the ranks a little bit before he got approved to go run Cup. They did the same thing to Patrick Carpentier when he came over, again, from IndyCar. They made him go run in Xfinity and trucks as well. They've done the same thing to other drivers. I just don't understand the notion that that the fans don't get, that these drivers have to do certain things and have to meet certain criteria. Now, I'm not privileged to that information on what would qualify you or what would disqualify you from getting an approval for a NASCAR Cup Series license. I don't know if there are certain minimum things that you have to meet. I don't believe NASCAR publicizes that information. If they do, I apologize for not knowing it. But as far as I'm concerned, that is a judgment call based on a group of individuals that is, I believe, led in part by Brett Bodine, who is a NASCAR official, and some other former drivers that have taken official positions within NASCAR. So the fact that Jennifer Jo Cobb was not singled out because of Norm Benning, she was not singled out because she's a female race car driver. She was not singled out for any other reason that people are trying to make the situation. This has, like I said, nothing to do with what happened at Richmond. The decision was made before Richmond. And Rick Ware was made aware of this particular decision that NASCAR made. Now, whether or not she would get an opportunity to make a Cup Series start if it wasn't Talladega, we don't know. If this was Martinsville or Richmond the last couple of weeks, would NASCAR have been a little bit more lenient and let her start? I think so. The other thing I would say is that I think NASCAR is being a lot pickier, especially due to the limited track time that these teams are getting, which I think has part of the decision process here as well. Not having practice, not having qualifying, things that normally would prep a driver for a NASCAR Cup Series start, especially their first one. I think this is part of the reason why NASCAR's not approving her. It's just like NASCAR is very, very hard. It's very hard to get a guy. Let's say something happens and Kyle Busch, some freak things happens to Kyle Busch and he can't run Sunday. Joe Gibbs Racing can't go to NASCAR and say, we're going to put Ty Gibbs in the car. NASCAR would basically tell Joe Gibbs Racing they have to find someone that has NASCAR Cup Series experience to replace Kyle Busch in that kind of a situation. And NASCAR, used to be a lot more lenient when it came to guys making their first career starts. You go back in the late 90s, Matt Kenseth replaced Bobby Labonte in the Southern 500. Now, NASCAR made Kenseth practice that car, even though he was coming in as a relief driver. They did make Kenseth practice that car back in 1998. Just like when Bill Elliott's father passed away and they needed a substitute driver for Bill, Matt Kenseth actually did practice, I believe, and qualified that car for Bill Elliott when he made his first career Cup Series start. Actual start, not a fill-in relief role like he served for Bobby Labonte at Darlington in 98. But, these are all things that, the average fan is looking at and saying, well, they used to do this, but now they're not. And I think NASCAR, like I said, has taken a lot of heat. They've taken a lot of criticism, and I think they're trying to change their ways. And I think the fans, you guys have a right to be upset. I fully get it. I understand the point of, you guys would be upset that NASCAR changes their mind a lot. And they have, but I think they're trying to make the sport safer for the drivers by being a little stricter on who they let run in the Cup Series. I think they need to kind of clean up the rule book a little bit for the lower series as well, because I think there's some guys that are running in some of these lower series that really are moving chicanes. And I think NASCAR's got to clean up like Xfinity and truck a little bit too. There's some, like Jay Buford. I mean, here's a kid that doesn't have a ton of stock car experience, and they just like let him walk right into the in the Xfinity series this year. He's running full time. He was approved for everything but Daytona. And they made him run X amount of races this year before they would approve him for Talladega this weekend. So like Jade Buford was a guy that, NASCAR said, yeah, well, he can't run Daytona, but he can run some of these other cars. So we'll just see how that all kind of pans out. But like I said, I think overall NASCAR made the right move with Jennifer Jo Cobb. I know it's a tough thing to hear for a lot of people because, Jennifer does have a big fan following. She's, one of the only active female drivers, in the series right now. I know Haley Deegan's there. I know, Natalie Decker's there, but Jennifer Jo has been around for a long time. She's, running her own team. She's given some drivers their first career starts. I could sit here and list some of them for you, but at the end of the day, it's a disappointing disappointing announcement for her fans and for people that are looking forward to her driving in a cup race. But hopefully down the road she's able to make that start and do whatever she needs to do in order to be eligible. Whether that means she goes out and runs some Xfinity races, for a team or try to get some more sponsorship to make her stuff more competitive so that she could prove that she can handle a cup ride for a race or two or whatever she wants to do. So hopefully that all works out. But I think that, like I said, this was a NASCAR decision, but I think there was a lot of things that factored into it. Like I said, I think her performance in the Truck Series was the biggest thing that NASCAR told, Bob Pockrass and some of the other people that were asking about it. And, the only thing I want to like kind of clean up a little bit too is kind of how it all happened. I mean, I was scrolling through Twitter and I saw Bob tweet this out. So then I went and I put the story up on our Facebook page and I used the picture we got from Rick Ware from the PR. And then I know a lot of people, I think we had 40 comments within 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. We had 40 comments up there and people speculating why. And, I don't know how Bob got the info. I don't know if Bob asked somebody at NASCAR or NASCAR put out a release. I mean, I I get a lot of the emails from NASCAR directly as a media member, but I didn't see an email. I mean, I went back and checked my emails this morning. I didn't see an email from NASCAR that said Jennifer Joe Cobb not approved to run Talladega. So I don't know if Bob contacted somebody at NASCAR and they clarified that for him. Because I know the entry list came out and it said, the driver for the 15 was TBA. So I don't know if that's how the ball started rolling in Bob's, reporting. I'm not sure, but whatever the case is, um, that's NASCAR made that announcement and they clarified that for everybody. But that's where it came from. It came from Bob, and then Bob didn't elaborate immediately after that tweet. So we were kind of left to myself and some other people were left to try to figure out and kind of read between the tea leaves here. And I almost thought that this was kind of like the prelude to a NASCAR announcement about the situation that happened between her and Norm Benning at Richmond, that Jennifer Joe Cobb was going to be parked or whatever they were going to do, after that accident. I thought this was kind of like that precursor, like that pre kind of thing that happens. And it really wasn't, as far as I know. I don't think there's anything that's going to come from that whole situation down at Richmond. At least I haven't been indicated that that's what's going to happen. But Tuesdays are the penalty days as far as NASCAR is concerned. So we might find something out this afternoon about that. And then when that happens, just check out our Facebook page or thecrewchief.net. We'll have that information up on both of those formats. So we'll go from there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take another quick break. And then on the other side of this break, we are going to break down the races that were Martinsville. So we'll talk about the Martinsville race. We'll talk about some tempers flaring, and we'll get you all set up as we inch a little bit closer to our Richmond race recap. And then also after that break, we will break down Talladega as well. This is Crew Chiefs Corner podcast. I'm Bobby Bailey. All right, we are letting that all kind of work its way through Anchor. So we are kind of all right. So now it is loaded, so I can. Ooh, that was not good. we gotta get this squared in the right spot here. All right, cool. All right. Getting ready for our big Martinsville race review. That. Let me get back on that. All right, guys, back here on the Crew Cheese Corner podcast. This is Bobby Bailey. We are going to get into Martinsville. What a crazy, crazy weekend Martinsville was. So, Mother Nature this year, once again, has been playing games with us, so to speak, on our NASCAR schedule. So, we had 2 rainouts, or, well, I shouldn't say rainouts. I mean, there were 2 races that we had to postpone to Sunday due to weather. So, the Xfinity race on Friday evening got started. I think they ran 91 or 92 laps of the race, and then it poured. So they weren't able to get to halfway. So they were unable to get to that point, and they had to make up the rest of the race Sunday at noon. And I'll tell you this, I wasn't able to watch this. I was actually at work, and we had all kinds of crazy stuff happening last week. So unfortunately, I wasn't really able to see much of the either race. Honestly, I saw the end of the Cup race, but that was about all I saw. But obviously, a big win for Josh Berry. Picked up the win. He led 4 times for 95 laps. But a big win for him a couple weeks ago on Sunday. And I look at Josh Berry a lot like I look at some other people that have come through this sport. And Josh, has had opportunities in the past to drive for Junior. And I think Dale's always tried to kind of put, good opportunities in front of him for him to succeed, for him to win races, for him to compete for championships. Josh also won the 2020 NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series, I think late model national championship last year. So, Josh has been at the top of his game for the last couple years as far as the late model tours go. He's been, winning big races. He led 300 laps, I think, one time down there in the big late model race that's run there at Martinsville each year, and he's led all those laps. So he has a ton of experience at the track. But jumping in one of these Xfinity cars is difficult. This is not something that you or I could go jump in a car and say, hey, we got short track experience. I ran XYZ racetrack, or you ran, ABC track, and you can jump in it and go out and dominate, this race like Josh Berry did. This takes a lot of skill, and Josh has just the right amount of experience in these Xfinity cars, largely at short tracks. He Daytona like for the first time ever, this past year. He's run at these 1.5-mile tracks for the first time at a lot of them. So he doesn't have as much experience as, a Noah Gragson or Austin Cindric or Brandon Jones or Justin Allgaier. He doesn't have that kind of experience. And I equate Josh Berry a little bit to Alex Bowman, and this is why I'll make that that comparison. When Bowman, first started out with Junior Motorsports, he was kind of in a rough spot. And this is part of what I talked about in my feature article. Is Bowman, started out driving for a couple different teams, and he started out. He had his first full-time opportunity in Xfinity with RAB Racing. And RAB Racing had some funding to put, Bowman in the car for some races. He actually, I think he ran the whole schedule, but they had a little bit of funding, and Alex was able to run the whole race. The whole season. Then the funding kind of went away. Bowman was sort of out of his seat, and 2014 was kind of a rough year for him. He had to go take the deal with BK Racing in the Cup Series. But Dale Jr. really noticed that this kid had a lot of talent. So he snuck him into a couple races at Junior Motorsports, and sort of, as they say, the rest is history. But you look at Bowman, he took that, he ran a limited schedule, and Junior really sold the crap out of Bowman, the sponsors. I mean, he tried everything he could to get Bowman opportunities to run those cars. Just like he's trying to do the same thing with Josh Berry. He's trying to sell sponsors on Josh Berry. He believes a lot in Josh's talent. And I think Josh has proven that he, given the right cars, given the right set of circumstances, given a sponsor and all that he has the talent to go out and win these races. Now, winning Martinsville is huge. I mean, there's no doubt about it. This is going to put Josh Berry on the right path. And I think that, you look at Alex Bowman when he won that race for Chip Ganassi Racing in the 42 car at Charlotte in 2017, that put him on a trajectory with Hendrick. I mean, Hendrick already had him as a driver for their 88 car in the Cup Series, for 2018, whether he won that race at Charlotte or not. But I think that these two wins, when you look at where they are in their careers, Bowman, there was a lot of people that were hesitant with him when he went into the 88 car. There's a hell of a lot of people are still worried about him, and he just won this past weekend at Richmond, the Cup car and the 48 car. There's a lot of people that are still, the jury's out on Bowman. Josh Berry, so everyone's like, yeah, Josh Berry's the next thing. The thing that Josh is going to have to do now is he's going to have to prove people that he belongs in this seat full time. And he needs to go out and have some great finishes at the mile and a halves, at some of these other places that he's going to have an opportunity to race until Sam Mayer comes in and takes that car over. Those are the opportunities that Josh Berry's going to have to seize now, because he's got the win. He's proven he can win races in this car. He needs to prove that he can win races and have those strong finishes in the car when he's at tracks that he's not as familiar with, at places that he's not as well known of being a dominant driver at, like all these short tracks. So that's where it is with Josh Berry. But I just, you kind of look at the parallels between Bowman and Berry, and you can kind of see that Dale Jr. believed immensely in both of them. He thought that they had the talent to go out there and win those races and compete for championships and stuff like that. And you see that Bowman is starting to kind of come into his own in the Cup car. It's taken him a little bit longer, and Cup's a hard series. I don't think people understand how hard it is to get in a Cup car, especially when you've been driving the junk that Bowman drove for as long as he drove it, to get used to being in really good equipment and what you need to do. Because driving junk equipment, it's, you're going to only get so much out of that car, no matter how hard you adjust on it. That, and those guys all know that are driving some of that lesser equipment. They all know the limits of their equipment. It's just like Corey LaJoie when he was driving for Go Fast Racing. He knew the limits of that 32 car. Matt DiBenedetto, he knew the limits of that 32 car. He knew the limits of that 83 car. Now, yes, Matt did have some great runs in that BK Racing equipment, much better runs than Bowman did. He had a lot better runs in the 32 car at times than what Corey LaJoie was able to do. But make no mistake about it, sometimes when you get in this really good equipment, especially for guys that kind of went from the rags to the riches, it is hard as hell to get in that good stuff and try to figure out what you're doing, because now you feel like it's not the car that's holding you back, it's you that's holding you back. So we'll go from there. So we'll see how that all pans out for Berry, where that takes him. I know he's got some sponsorship now from Tire Pros for 2 additional races. This weekend at Talladega is one, and then the race at Dover later in May is the other race that they'll have them. So good news on that front for Josh Berry. Something positive did happen for him for sure. 2 race sponsorship with Tire Pros, and I know Camping World and Marcus Leonis was originally going to be on the car at Talladega, but they were able to get something a little bit more longer term out of Tire Pros due to this whole thing, and this big win for Josh Berry. So that was huge. Then we get to the Cup race, and my gosh, what a race! I mean, I looked really good for 3/4 of that event. Like, Denny Hamlin was my guy. That was who I picked to win. I knew he hadn't won there since 2016, and I'm like, yes, we finally got a race pick right. And then the last 20 laps of the race happened, and Martin Truex Jr. comes out of nowhere and picks up the win. But kudos to Martin Truex. I mean, here's a guy that, geez, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago, didn't have a single short track win on his resume, even though he grew up on the short tracks of South Jersey. He grew up there in Wall Stadium and some of those other places down there. in South Jersey. But what a big win for Truex. His third win in 4 races at Martinsville. The only race he didn't win was the race last fall that Chase Elliott won that propelled him to his Cup Series championship last year. But a big win for Truex. Stole one away, and Logano snuck in there for second, and then Denny Hamlin finished third. So really two really exciting races. 2 guys that grew up as short track racers that got the wins. So a big weekend for those guys that grew up on those short tracks. So that's really cool to see Truex and Josh Berry get those wins. So, overall, Mother Nature kind of, wreaked havoc on us at Martinsville. But in the end, we got 2 big wins out of some short track guys and Josh Berry and Martin Truex Jr. So big wins for them. Obviously, Truex becomes the first repeat winner of 2021. And we'll see as we head to Richmond. Do we see a repeat out of Josh Berry? Does Martin Truex Jr. become the first guy to win 3 races in 2021? Or do we see our 8th different winner in 9 races? We'll find out on the other side of the break. This is the Crew Chiefs Corner podcast, hosted by Bobby Bailey. All right. All right. Let's get this show on the road here. We're going to do our last little we're going to do our Richmond recap, and then we have one segment I want to do after that. And somehow I closed out of my Twitch stream, so I got to get that back up here. There we go. All right. We're ready and ready. All right, everybody, this is Bobby Bailey back here on the Crew Chiefs Corner podcast. Now we're going to dive into Richmond. So Mother Nature kind of played in our favor this weekend at Richmond. We didn't have rain, got both races in when they were supposed to get in. So that's a plus. This weekend we had the truck race and we had the cup race. I'll be honest with you, I didn't watch the truck race at all. Um, we like I said, just had a crazy week. But I'll say this about the trucks. I think Richmond has been a good place for them the last couple races they've run there. I think have been pretty exciting. I know um, there was a couple wrecks during the race, so definitely lived up to the hype. I know um, we kind of were worried, when you see the entry list and you see Kyle Busch on it, you're like, Kyle Busch is going to stink this show up. But realistically, he didn't. He um, he ended up with really a tough time on his hands. For Kyle Busch to finish stage one and third, finish stage uh, two and fifth, and he started in 12th. This isn't like Kyle Busch, had to start in like 15th or 20th. This is Kyle Busch had to start in 12th place. And there's races where Kyle Busch would have passed all 12 trucks in 2 laps or something. But Kyle didn't have that good of a truck. It was really John Hunter Nemechek that had the truck to beat, led 114 laps. So a lot of laps to lead in a truck race that's only 250 laps long. So a big win for John Hunter. Obviously had a really good truck. So did Grant Enfinger. He led 71 laps there, dominated the early portions of that race, and also put up the fastest lap of the race as well. So a big win for John Hunter Nemechek. His second win of the season obviously puts him in a really good spot, right behind Ben Rhodes there for wins. And I said it when John Hunter came down to run the trucks after being in Cup for a year. I said this move was for him to win races, compete for a championship. And I mean, you couldn't pick more than 2 or 3 other guys that have a legit shot at winning this title besides John Hunter Nemechek. If you want to say Matt Crafton, I'll give you Matt Crafton. If you want to say Johnny Sauter, I'd give you Johnny Sauter. But outside of those guys, I mean, yeah, Sheldon Creed won the championship last year. He would be somebody else that you could say would be somebody that could win the championship. But there's not like 8 or 9 guys that I would say, man, John Hunter's really put himself in a bad spot. He put himself in very good equipment in a very, very light a light series right now. I mean, this isn't the most competitive this truck series has been in years. I really think that John Hunter's got a chance to stink up the show a little bit this year, win 8, 9, 10 races, and probably walk his way to the final 4 and have a legitimate shot at winning this championship. Come November in Phoenix. I really do think that this is kind of like going to be his way to kind of stink up the show a little bit. So we'll see how that all pans out for him. But a big win. Kyle Busch was second. Tyler Ankrum third. Chandler Smith was fourth. Fifth was Johnny Sauter. Sixth, Todd Gilliland. Seventh was Ben Rhodes. Eighth was Grant Enfinger. Ninth was Sam Mayer. A good run, Sam, in that 32 truck for Brett Holmes Racing. And then a top 10 for Austin Hill in the number 16. But then you look at the other guys that were right behind him. You had Sheldon Creed, Carson Hocevar, Stuart Friesen, Zane Smith, Derek Kraus, Spencer Davis was 16th, Haley Deegan 17th, 18th was Matt Crafton. Not a great day for Matt Crafton. 19th was Austin Wayne Self, and then 20th was Danny Bond. But getting back to John Hunter Nemechek, I think that this is the kind of stuff that John Hunter needs to do. He needs to go out and dominate races. He needs to go out to win races. He needs to get those stage points. He needs to do everything he can to really put himself in that spot. So I really do hope that we see more wins out of John Hunter Nemechek, because I think these are the things he needs to do to put himself in the spot to win this championship. That Matt Crafton's going to win races. I really do believe Johnny Sauter's going to win a race or two this year. And listen, Sam Mayer has won races in the past. I know he's not a guy that's competing for the Truck Series championship this year, but until he turns 18, he's going to run as many of these truck races as he's allowed to. And I know he's going to even run some of these truck races later in the season to get him some experience at some of these tracks that he's never been at, especially on these mile. So Sam Mayer's a guy that could steal some wins from a John Hunter Nemechek, from a Johnny Sauter, from those guys. Grant Enfinger, Again, no plans to running the full schedule. I know they're trying to do as much as they can for him. He's trying to do as much as he can to get him in all the races. But Grant Enfinger, when he's in that 98 truck, they're going to be competitive. He's going to have a shot at winning races. He's a guy that maybe could steal a win or two away. So John Hunter Nemechek has got to take advantage of every race that he can and win those events, so that gives him the bonus points and everything that he needs. Because he's going to need all the advantage he can take, because like I said, Johnny Sauter's going to win. That Matt Crafton's going to win. Sheldon Creed is probably going to sneak in and win a race or two, especially on the road courses. Sheldon's been pretty good at those places. He won at the Daytona road course last year. So that these are races that, they're going to be up for grabs. NASCAR is going to COTA in in about a month. That's going to be a place where nobody knows what's going to happen. We might get a surprise winner there. So these are all races that, all these guys got to take advantage of. It's not just John Hunter Nemechek. It's all the guys got to take advantage of these races. And that's why I still think that no matter who wins this truck championship, whether it's John Hunter Nemechek or somebody else, you got to go out and claim these wins and do whatever you can to win them. And you got to go out there and try to steal these wins from Kyle Busch. But it seems like the only guy that can beat Kyle Busch is John Hunter Nemechek this year, because he's been the only guy to do it. So we'll see. Kyle's run 2 races. John Hunter Nemechek won both of them. Ironic? I don't know, but it's something. Moving on to the Cup race on Sunday, a day race. I got to see the whole race on Sunday. I was really excited about that. Like I said, tough week at the real world job, not the little fantasy job that I have here on the podcast and the Facebook pages and the website and all that stuff. But what a race. I mean, listen, we had over 600 laps between the race we had at Richmond last year, the one race we had, not two, and then the races we had in 2019 at Richmond. We had over 600 laps of essentially caution-free races before we had the first one for cause. Okay, all the way back on, what was that? That was lap 142. Lap 142 was the first caution for cause in over 600 laps at Richmond. Now, put that in perspective. We ran 400 laps on Sunday. Okay, so we ran the whole race last year at Richmond, no cautions other than the stage breaks. That was it, and the competition caution. That was it. The only caution, we got some cautions, I guess after or before halfway in the race in 2019. So we had a race and a half ultimately of caution-free racing at Richmond. And we finally had a caution for cause. It was Ryan Newman getting punted. to kind of put it mildly, he got punted, spun around, did make some slight contact with the wall with the rear of his Oscar Mayer Ford Mustang, but he was able to continue on and sort of go from there. But, then we had a caution for the stage 2 break, and then we only had one other caution the whole race. And that was the surprising one of them all, was when Kevin Harvick blew a right rear tire down, spun the car around, backed it into the wall, shortened it up pretty good, and his day was done in the Hunt Brothers Pizza Ford Mustang. But not a lot of wrecks per se, but that late race wreck with Kevin Harvick really changed the complexion of the race. Denny Hamlin dominates. Okay, so just like at Martinsville, Hamlin dominated Martinsville. Hamlin was dominating Richmond, and we were looking great again. I didn't really make a race pick for Richmond, but I probably would have picked Hamlin anyhow, because I probably would have come out of the Martinsville episode and said, it's going to be Denny's time. He's going to win at Richmond. Wrong. So Hamlin, once again, kind of snake bitten on a late race restart. A big win for Alex Bowman. I mean, I can't even go into all of it, how big this was for Alex Bowman. He needed this win in the worst way. And for twofold. I mean, obviously, first and foremost, I'm sure you guys have all heard the story that Alex Bowman lost a crew member, Rowdy Howell, in the offseason, and his wife Blakely died in a car accident back in November of 2020. And it was such a tragic accident that happened. And it was definitely felt throughout the Hendrick and Junior Motorsports organizations. And you could see that emotion after Bowman got out of the car. He was celebrating. You could see he was quite literally crying on TV, which I think a lot of times people forget the raw emotion of this sport and how hard it is to win. And why I did my feature article on Bowman and kind of the way I did it was, we talked about the win, we talked about Rowdy and Blakely, but we also talked about Bowman's journey to get here and just kind of reminiscing about how lucky Bowman was to get recognized by Dale Jr. While he was driving for RAB Racing, and how competitive he was in the equipment that wasn't necessarily the greatest equipment in the world. And Alex was able to go out and win, that cup race in 2019 at Chicagoland, answering the call of a lot of people. Is Alex Bowman going to ever win a cup race? And when he did that, he followed it up last year with a big win at Auto Club Speedway. And now he follows it up this year, moving to the 48, although it's really his same 88 team that he had when he was driving the 88. It's just Ally sponsored, and it's the 48. That's all. That's the only thing that connects him to the 48 is the wrap on that race car. Everything else, the cars, the haulers, the crew guys, the pit crew, that's all the 88 team that was with Dale Jr. in 20. That's the same group of guys that were with Dale Jr. They just now have a 48 on everything. That's it. And Ally sponsors them. That's the only difference. I swear. Really, Jimmy Johnson's old team is with Kyle Larson, and Larson won a race. So then that begs to ask the question of, really, was it really Jimmy Johnson's fault for why that team struggled the last couple of years, or really was it an organizational issue? The world will never know. Okay, so let's stop trying to figure it out. But a big win for Bowman, a contract year for him. The guy's gonna get a contract now because he won a race. And it was a big win for him late in the race, final 10 laps, right when it mattered. He stepped up there and got that win, and sort of came out of nowhere. I mean, it kind of reminds me of when Blaney won Atlanta. You were looking, and Blaney wasn't somebody I would have picked to win Atlanta, but all of a sudden he came out of the thin blue sky, and there's Ryan Blaney winning at Atlanta. Bowman picks up the win at Richmond. So you couldn't have picked a more deserving guy than Bowman, in my opinion. The kid's been through a lot. He's gone from driving for free for BK Racing all the way to, driving the 48. He's gone from the rags to the riches. And you know what? He's shown that he belongs in this kind of equipment with his third career win. And, hey, you never know. It might not be the last one he wins this year. So, big win for Bowman. Another disappointing loss for Denny Hamlin. I know that excites a lot of you out there because, listen, Denny doesn't have a ton of fans. Okay, I know he has fans, but he doesn't have a ton of fans. So I know that there's a lot of you that were kind of happy to see Hamlin not get that win. And I don't know what the hell Hamlin was talking about after the race, that he'd rather be him than Alex Bowman. I don't know. I mean, I sort of understand it that, Hamlin has had a better year than Bowman did, and Hamlin is probably going to win races this year and probably win multiple races. And I think he's trying to say that Bowman, still hasn't figured it out as far as, being a guy that can compete on a weekly basis for wins and stuff like that. I think that's kind of what Hamlin was meaning. So he's kind of trying to take a dig at Bowman, which I don't understand why. I think he should worry about some of his own teammates on the Xfinity side of things, like Daniel Hemrick, who hasn't won any NASCAR races in 5 or 6 years now. So I think he should be more worried about that. But I digress there. That's not a Denny Hamlin call, but we'll see. So this weekend we have Talladega. I'll give you my little preview on that, and then we will get into The news of the week on the other side of this break. This is the Crew Chiefs Corner podcast hosted by Bobby Bailey. All right, one final segment for today, and then we will be on our way. Oh, please tell me this is a joke. Oh, please tell me this is a joke. There is no way that this is the car they're going to run. Oh, dear Lord. What the heck are they doing? Oh boy. Oh man. Oh geez.
Really cool for Ally to kind of let me steer the ship on it a little bit. Greg definitely had some interesting looking late models, so we're going to be styling in Darlington, but it's pretty cool.
It means a lot, that not only thinking about he could have used one of his paint schemes and he could have done something to think back to what he to put me first before himself is a big deal.
It's definitely neat. I think it means a lot to Greg. Really cool for Ally to kind of let me steer the ship on it a little bit. Greg definitely had some interesting looking late models, so we're going to be styling in Darlington, but it's pretty cool.
It means a lot,
Very interesting. So Alex Bowman is running a very interesting. I'll put. They put together a very interesting looking, to say the least, throwback for Darlington. So I will definitely share that out. Oh man, it's gonna be crazy. Let me see if I can show you guys this on. Oh boy. Let's see.
Hey guys, Ally was asking what I wanted to do for our Darlington throwback this year. I thought it would be really cool to surprise my crew chief Greg Ives and do a throwback of one of his late models that he used to race. So he hasn't seen it yet. We're going to surprise him in the team meeting. Follow me in there. We're going to do our best to make him cry. I sent Tim a thing that I saw from Bristol that I wanted to get him to pull up and put on the screen. Yeah.
Oh, what is that?
Well, you kept asking about Darlington. You're really frustrating to hide things from. You know that?
That's cool.
That's all we get is that's cool?
I don't even know what to say.
We're going to be styling in Darlington, bud.
I am fully shocked, honestly. So this wasn't about anything about a meeting, was it?
Got him!
Especially this one, Kathy. So.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's awesome. Here's my super good looking fire suit that we're doing too to just be just like you.
That suit, obviously a lot of my suits were throwback because they were my brothers, and they wouldn't fit. So my mom, she actually bought me this suit. So, yeah.
And make everyone else.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I am totally shocked.
Love you too. Bye. Bye. Love you. It's definitely neat. I think it means a lot to Greg.
That's pretty cool.
Really cool for Ally to.
So the car is very bright. I'll put it mildly. This is a pretty bright car. Oh my goodness gracious. Very bright. Let me grab let me show you guys what I'm talking about here. Let me see if I can find it real quick again. Oh boy. Oh God. I don't think I'm going to find it now. Whoops. All right, so let me show you guys this real quick. And I promise we'll get back to the podcast. That's Bowman's Ally car that he's going to run at Darlington. Kind of interesting looking. So we'll take it from there. All right. Let's get this final segment done here. I had this in. I got to rename it. All right. Last one. All right, guys, it's Bobby Bailey back here on the Crew Chiefs Corner podcast. So now we're going to talk about Talladega. We're going to talk about the news and notes of the week. So far, we found out that Harrison Burton's going to drive the 96 for Dex Imaging as his sponsor, driving for the Gaunt brothers at Talladega. Apparently, he's making his Cup Series debut this weekend. Which again adds even more credence to what we discussed earlier. I think NASCAR is being much more selective. I believe the reason why Harrison got approved, obviously, is he's been competing in the Xfinity Series actively the last couple of years, and I think given that, that's why they let him make his Cup debut. But like I said, I think they're being stricter with this. I really do believe that. I don't think this was a Jennifer Jo Cobb, we don't like you kind of move. I think this was a move that was made because of, as we mentioned earlier, a lot of poor performances in the Truck Series and things of the sort. So I believe that's really more to do with it than anything else. The other thing, the other big news is obviously there's going to be a pretty cool Davey Allison tribute this weekend. So Joey Gase is going to drive two cars that they're renumbering for the weekend. So the 17 car in the Xfinity Series will be renumbered for the 28 this weekend. And then the 53 on the Cup side of things will be renumbered to the 28 to honor Davey Allison. And Gase is doing that because Davey Allison was an organ donor. And they're going to do that tribute to get people to register for organ donation. So I think that's a pretty cool thing that they've put together as well. So those are kind of like the big things that happened within the last week or so that I didn't really get to. We know that we're going to find out probably some more stuff in the coming days and weeks about practice schedules and all that for COTA. So we'll have all that stuff up. If you go on the crewchief.net, you will find the site has been totally updated. We have all the new race schedules up. So the race schedule is up for Talladega. We have the entry list, I believe, is going to go up there at some point today for the Cup and Xfinity cars. We will also put up I think all the owner points and driver points and all that are updated for the Trucks, Cup, and Xfinity. And I think we added some more paint schemes to the paint scheme page. And my feature article of the week, which we talked about earlier, is this week on Alex Bowman and his big win at Richmond. And we discuss his career look back as well. So really excited for you guys to go check out the crewchief.net. I know you guys probably just heard the ad in the roll there, but hope you guys go and check the crewchief.net out. We have a lot of really cool stuff on there. And like I said, don't worry, we're still doing all social media stuff. We're still doing the podcast, obviously. So you guys will be able to check us out and all the different various formats that we have. I think that's kind of what makes this all unique, is that we're able to do not only just a website or not only just social media, we're able to do kind of all of it. And you guys are able to access us in a lot of different formats. And then maybe you would some of the other stuff that's out there. So thank you guys for all the support. I do greatly appreciate it. We're way over what my expectations were of any of this. So thank you guys so much for that. And I guess the only other thing we have left to talk about is go check out my friends over at Circle B Diecast, circlebdiecast.com. Use the promo code Crew Chiefs Corner. There's no apostrophe in the Chiefs. It's just Crew Chiefs Corner. You get free shipping on any U.S. order over $20. And the great thing is, if you're pre-ordering, let's say maybe your Alex Bowman race win diecast, they won't charge you until it ships. So that's really a cool thing that the guys over at Circle B Diecast do. You can go check them out. And that's it. I want to thank everybody for listening and tuning in on the live stream. Don't forget, you can always check us out on our Twitch and YouTube pages. We do live stream the podcast when possible, so you guys can go check that out as well on our Twitch page. It's twitch.tv/Giants, like the football team, 02122. And then also you can search for us on YouTube. Just search Crew Chiefs Corner in the search bar. You'll find our channel, and you can go back and watch any of the live recordings of the Crew Chiefs Corner page. So thank you guys again for all your support. Tell your friends. And until next time, let's go racing. We'll see you next week. And that's it. Thanks, guys, again for tuning in for another live recording here on YouTube and on Twitch. We'll catch you guys next week. I don't really know when we're going to do it next week, but we'll figure out a day and a time. And just stay tuned to the Facebook page. That's where I'll post when that next episode is going to come up. So we'll catch you guys later. Have a great day, and enjoy the races at Talladega this weekend.